welcome back to another episode of Bits and Bytes. Today we have another guest in the gaming industry, Justin from Battlefy. Justin, how about you give yourself a quick introduction about what you do and what Battlefy is about?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Justin. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO of Battlefy. Battlefy, we've built a platform for eSports, which is competitive video gaming. Basically, kids nowadays, they play video games, they compete, go to play in stadiums, and they win millions of dollars. Our platform, our services, our company, we look to power all levels of competition. So you can imagine from like amateur to collegiate, where we, UBC uses us, to kind of the beer leagues, to semi-professional leagues, all the way up to professional leagues. So we work with a lot of like game developers who use us. So Riot Games, we work with them on collegiate League of Legends. So that's really fun, where college students play in there and are able to win scholarship money. We also work with like EA on Apex Legends and their global series. So all around the world, people can compete and be the best kind of Apex Legends players. We also work with different brands. Recently, we are working with like the NFL, who wants to kind of, especially in the pandemic, wants to kind of create these events for kids to be able to come on and really interact with the NFL brand, which is exciting. So, we have a lot of community side. Our organizers use our platforms and create lots of cool content, tournaments. And we also work with the game developers, brands, to kind of help them get into esports and help them run really successful tournaments of all sizes.
Awesome. So for those that might not be, familiar with esports or the gaming industry too much, how exactly does like Battlefy work as a tournament platform? Like, is it like an automated kind of like software where, people can just join in and join their teams, or how exactly does it work?
Yeah, there's really kind of two sides to it. One, for tournament organizers, what we TOs, they come on and, hey, I want to have run a League of Legends tournament this Saturday at 7:00, and so they're able to go to our website, and for every game we have different customizations, a little bit, maps and things like that. So they're able to come in and input all the details about the tournament, and they can go and now market that page, share it on their Facebook groups, Twitter, and people can come and join. So on the player side, when players come in and join those tournaments, we collect the right information. For example, for League of Legends, we can collect their summoner name, and with that, we can also grab some of their stats. So, the players know who they're competing against. Then on tournament day, we provide organizers more tools, such as seeding tools. They're able to create brackets, single elimination, double elimination, all those different kind of competitive formats. And when they do that, they can put the teams in however the way they want using our tools, and players will get that on our platform. Hey, you're now playing against this team, and the tournament progresses. And we also have some cool features like admin kind of support tools. So when a player runs into trouble, they can open a ticket, and the admins can come on and in chat kind of work together to solve whatever issues they have. So we built a lot of tools for them to be able to run a great seamless tournament experience.
Wow. Honestly, I wish this existed back when I was at school. I'm not sure if you guys know, but like at SFU, I ran a gaming club specifically for like PC games. And one of our, I guess like cool stuff that we did was we ran league tournaments as well as like StarCraft or like Dota. And oh my gosh, like trying to organize a tournament from scratch is a lot more difficult than you think.
Why are you shouting out all these dead games?
I'm sorry, I'm an old generation gamer.
I was gonna say, like, from Justin's intro, he's like, "Oh, kids can join tournaments." I'm like, no. Old people join tournaments too. They just don't win.
It's cool. We're actually there's actually like corporate leagues now. So we actually play in some of these corporate leagues. And so, when you get out from school and you have a job and stuff like that, it's harder to kind of stay in touch with people. Some of these corporate leagues as well, it's pretty cool. You kind of it's team building at your company, and you get to play with other companies around you, and really well, I guess it's team building in some ways when you win. Sometimes if you lose, you kind of shout at each other here and there, but it's all good fun.
Yeah, I don't know if when Gene and I play games together, whether it's team build or team break.
Depends on how competitive you are, I guess.
I mean, Sam always mentions how competitive I get with Apex, or not Apex, Valorant. So
I don't think it's just one game. I think it's game specific.
Competitiveness is in your nature, right? So
yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in these corporate leagues. So I remember you told me a bit about this before, but so are there a lot of actual corporate teams in Vancouver itself, or is it kind of you guys also do compete against international United States corporations or?
Yeah, the ones we kind of joined, they're North American. So I mean, you may know Day9, right? Big kind of StarCraft streamer. Him and his business partner started it back then with After Hours Gaming League, and it kind of evolved from there. But yeah, there's a bunch of companies, North America. Esports really has no boundaries, right? Which is pretty cool. We get to play with teams from Amazon, IBM, Facebook. Some of these teams have really interesting team names as well. It's we played against Facebook and the name is Ganked by Zuck. So it's just fun to kind of hang out and chill and talk with people from all different companies.
Yeah, no, that's
really
awesome.
Crazy. That's really crazy because I know I've played a couple sports in the past, and locals who are listening to this episode are gonna recognize some of these names like Urban Rec or Ice 604 if you're into hockey or whatever. Those leagues, a lot of professionals go in those leagues, right? But it totally makes sense. I think you guys have come up at a right time where we grew up as gamers, like Gene says, the StarCrafts and the Warcrafts and the Red Alerts. And now we're growing up and we're like, oh, where do we go now?
No, it's awesome that there's an online platform community that, gamers now, they don't have to just disconnect with just, as they get older, you can actually play with your coworkers now and stuff. That's awesome to me. Cause I think one of the growing pains of gamers is that, you have less and less time to spend towards your hobby or your passions. I'm in that boat right now, trying to find that balance to still fit in gaming is a little hard, but I think having corporate teams is fun. I know me and Sam were talking about all the time, but I don't think we have enough gamers on the team. And I know I don't have the patience to probably train someone. So
yeah, but gaming is also pretty cool, right? When you have friends back then, high school, university, you're kind of together. But as you graduate and life kind of goes on, people move away as well. And one of the great things about games is that you can just pick up and play with your friends, no matter where they are. Toronto, Seattle, San Fran, wherever, you can play together and compete together again. My group of high school friends, we play basketball, and we could play some video games now that they're in different cities and stuff too. Yeah. So yeah, gaming really brings people together.
Especially now, right? Have you guys, I think I know the answer to this, but have you guys seen your platforms spike up because everybody's at home now?
Yeah, I think in the March-April period, we definitely had a big spike. And, with people staying at home, I think, kind of in general, the gaming industry has been doing relatively well, right? Because everyone's kind of indoors. So it's pretty cool that, people are playing more video games, competing, using that as a way to kind of cope with, the challenges of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think I especially love how the image of gamers kind of changed because, before, early in days, parents would always be like, "Stop gaming, go study." But now it's we have parents that encourage their kids to, recently Fortnite winners, he was 15 or something really 16.
Yeah.
$1 million. Like that's insane. Like I think we had another guest, Spiro, talking about how gaming for kids is actually a really great educational way of going about it. Like I remember I did a paper on the violent effects of gaming on like in children, and the studies were very outdated, but like those were what the studies were about. They thought that video games were bad for children, that there was these violent tendencies that would possibly appear from them. But it's really cool to see that narrative change a lot, because I think that gaming has a lot of great benefits. So is that kind of what kind of inspired you then to start a Battlefy? Because I'm assuming you've been a gamer from life. So
yeah, I guess I've always kind of had that entrepreneur spirit. So it was hard kind of working 9 to 5. I guess working at a corporate structure, it's different, right? Not for everybody. So I worked at EA before, then kind of started my own startup with my co-founder Jason. Our first startup is actually in the kind of the charitable giving space, and that we learned a lot of lessons. That didn't pan out. Went back to EA, and I think we got bored again, corporate life, and we basically like, hey, well, what else is our interest, right? What are we really kind of passionate about? And turns out we're both really big into gaming, and I think the first version of our app we were looking at like guilds and guild management and stuff like that. So there was already a bunch of good tools out there for that, and Jason had a bunch of friends in Seattle who were running these draft League of Legends tournaments. So captain's draft, you have 6 or 8 captains, and they pick from the pool of players, and they compete on the weekend, and we basically try to improve their lives. Kind of like what you said, right? Like it takes a lot of effort to run those tournaments. So we built lots of these little tools for them to, register the players in, to do the seeding, to the drafting. And that basically allowed them to run 2 tournaments a week instead of 1. And so, that kind of started our little bit snowball. Different community organizers came out and reached out to us about, hey, we heard you got a tool, can we use this too? And kind of started from there. Like
one of the nitbits that we always mention every time we have Jason or Justin on is that Battlefy was the very first launch academy company. They were the first ones to not just apply but like show up, and they showed up on the Saturday where we weren't open. And they worked out a Launch Academy for 2 days before Launch Academy actually showed up.
Oh, we gotta get started working, so we needed some space. Yeah.
Awesome. Like I was just wondering, like, I was assuming there aren't, even now, I don't think there's too many eSports specific companies in Vancouver. I can name a few, like Gaming Stadium, Battlefy, but we have great gaming company studios, but nothing super eSports specific, right? What was, did you find yourself having, any challenges being one of the earlier eSports companies? Because I know eSports, started trending more recently, but it must have been a little bit more, unknown back then.
Yeah. How old is Launch Academy?
Going on about 8 years now.
8 years? So I guess that would be how old Battlefy is. But
it's easy math, man.
Easy math, yeah. Definitely back then, it wasn't as mainstream and well known. And I think that was, we kind of expected, but it was kind of unexpected in a way where, a lot of the investors that we talked to didn't really know about esports and what it actually is, right? Most of it was in Asia, Korea, and stuff back then. But when we talked to them, they didn't know this was a thing, a phenomenon, and we had to describe to them. It's like, hey, look, there's like traditional sports with sticks and balls, but imagine replacing that with a keyboard and mouse, and they wear headsets. And I think we would show them clips of like IEM back in the days, and with the state, kind of a huge convention on the screen, and then we played them video, and at the end, these kids were like jumping up and shouting, and they were super excited for their team. And once we finished playing that video, the investors' jaws were dropped. They're like, "This is a thing." So, so nowadays it's a lot easier talking to people. It's actually quite well known. It's people who I talk to who I don't expect to kind of know. They're like, "Oh yeah, that thing." But back then I think it was quite new, and we were trying to find ways to explain what this could be and what it is. So that was really fun.
What did you think are some of the things that have happened since 2012 that's kind of made this industry progress? Like, were there like key points that you can go point out, like that was a moment when now from this point on I can just reference that, or was it different things or different people doing different things?
There's a few things I think, but streaming I think is one of those very important ones where it is so much more accessible now with streaming and VODs. You can open up Twitch and just watch people play games and watch kind of videos of people competing. You go on YouTube and gaming videos, Let's Plays and stuff like that. It's so accessible so that, people can just consume that content really easily, right? It's like replacing, traditional TV and stuff like that as one of the primary forms of entertainment. So I think that has been really important. And the other is also kind of money going into this ecosystem, right? With more money, everybody's able to do more things, and along comes marketing, right? And more awareness. So I really think it's those kind of two things that's starting to propel, and everyone's able to see this cool thing, esports.
Like, I think it was really cool, especially when this is from years ago, but even then it's still really cool that League of Legends, one of the, I think, still most popular games out there, like they hosted the LCS tournament in Vancouver, which it's crazy because when I think it was the Coliseum or
Pacific Coliseum,
yeah. Like usually you just like look at the Coliseum, and you're like you just go there for like concerts, like big names like Beyonce or like Backstreet Boys. Sorry, I'm going very old school here.
Yeah, I'm like this is like a 90s podcast.
Yeah. Reminiscent 90s.
I'm really showing my age here, but like you would just never imagine a stadium full of, like a huge age range, like young kids to, early 30s to even like, older parents that are interested in like supporting their kids' passions. Like it's crazy to see how far esports has come, especially in Vancouver.
Yeah, one of the longtime League of Legends pro players, Doublelift, he retired today, he announced, but he was kind of reminiscing, and like way back then, like season 1 or 2, I think the meme around was like, the championships were held in like Freak's basement, one of the casters and stuff, but it's like held in one of those, small spaces, 30 people watching, and, those were like the season 1, season 2 kind of times. And it gets to be in like stadiums, like Pacific Coliseum here, I think, and the World Championships and stuff are in like the Olympic stadiums and like China and Korea and stuff. So from someone's basement to kind of world-class stadiums, it's insane these like 10 years how much change, how much growth there is.
Definitely. It's kind of like the equivalent. Oh yeah.
I was wondering if you would find a way to put Doublelift into this podcast.
Yeah, got a shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea he retired today, but he had a very long run. It's impressive. He's lasted so many seasons. Like, yeah, that's awesome. And like, the whole, starting in like Freak's basement is kind of like the equivalent of, when you have a startup in the garage and it's a couple of you like working away and building up to a large company like Amazon or Google. Like it's pretty cool to see that transition into it.
Yeah, the esports journey, right? It really is like what we really believe in as well, it's like the bottoms up approach a bit, working with the community, working with the players, because it's the players who are so passionate that really brought esports to where it is today, right? A lot of where we are comes from passionate people who get on camera, do casting, and passionate players who practice play, and that's all they had back then, right? LAN parties, and stuff like that. So it is kind of like the startup journey. You're in your basement, you just got a camera, you just got the game, and you go.
Start from the bottom over here.
Yeah. keep coming up with those old drops.
We're doing a 90s throwback this podcast.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting you mentioned that, because you guys, like Battlefy, when you think about it, you guys are a startup in an industry that I would argue is also like starting up, right? Like,
right.
Especially when you guys started. So like what would you say are some of like the upsides to being in something where like literally everybody is young and new, and like a lot of the partners you're working with, especially early on, are passion projects, right? They're not corporations. Like maybe they are now, but like back then, it's people's basements, passionate people. Like what was that experience like, both like pros and cons?
Yeah, I think it's cool, that I'm able to work in the gaming industry. And, when you're young and you grow up, your parents tell you to not play video games and it's not going to help you in life. Well, it kind of is helping me now. So it is growing, and there's lots of opportunities to kind of be in the space, and just doing something that you're really passionate about for work is great. There's a lot of cool opportunities in the space to kind of join. I think it's the challenges of a growing industry as well, though, is that everyone's figuring stuff out. There isn't really much guidance that you can get. A lot of experimentation, which you gotta keep learning. You gotta keep seeing what works, and you can't kind of rest on your laurels there. But I think it's also a benefit that we're in a growing industry. It also means that you can make some mistakes, right? Because people are investing dollars, and there is a growing kind of trajectory for this market where it allows you to kind of experiment a little bit and figure out what might work and what might not work.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So like, side question, like, do your parents still tell you to stop playing video games nowadays?
Yeah, I'm sure it's topics that are brought up, but
yeah, at some point you have to go and quote unquote get a real job that's not just playing games all day.
No, but they kind of know entrepreneurship, startups, and things like that. So they are quite proud of what I've kind of done.
Yeah. Do you think there was a turning point, or for you guys specifically, the support was always there? Because I know a lot of people's different startup journeys, like they have to convince their family first.
Yeah. Parents are always, they love you. They always care about you. They want, what's best. And I think, when you start out with, kind of no funding, it's always going to be that risk and challenge. But I think definitely when you are more stable, you get some funding, especially when I was able to start paying myself. That's when, the comfort of that idea is a little bit more for the parents.
And so, like, I think kind of tying that over, for other people that are, it could be gaming, but I don't think it's specific to that. And I know a lot of people that are listening to this might not necessarily be gamers, so we can expand it beyond that. But for people trying to join like an industry that has stigma like gaming, like, what should they expect, and like what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, gaming industry, there's a lot of things that aren't great when you're working in the gaming industry, I think. But people do, because it is such a passion, right? There are a lot of challenges that people in the industry are trying to work out. I started working at EA, and in video games. I was lucky to be part of a more central team, testing team, but I kind of work closely with the games team as well, and you can see all the passion that people put into those games. But when you're a big company and you have obligations to meet, deadlines, release dates, and those are set in motion, the marketing machine is turning, you have to hit those dates, right? And so there are kind of long hours. There are a lot of work that you kind of put in with, the crunch. But I'm hoping it's something that people keep talking about and keep addressing. But it is, if you work in gaming, it's a lot about passions. Another kind of example, it's like, you enter the industry as testers, right? That's one of the very common ways. Be a QA tester. You can start getting to know different people in the gaming industry and move to different departments and stuff. So I know definitely a few people when I was working at EA who started from that path. But it's when you're testing, it's not really playing games. People say it's it's so fun.
They're playing the same game all day, right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, you get paid to play video games. It's great. No, but you're literally, pressing the same buttons. You're going through the same menu, same motions to try to replicate bugs, and for a lot of people, it can kind of ruin games in that way. But if you're passionate, if you want to be in that industry, it's people put a lot of effort, sweat, into kind of being in the industry, and I think that's why it's so cool, because of the people.
So you mentioned, sorry, one of the things you mentioned was the crunch. So for people that aren't familiar with the crunch, like what is the crunch?
Yeah, basically, I think when especially when you're kind of launching a game, the last few weeks, right? You're trying to get the game out. It has to go gold and ship to the printing presses to kind of make the copies, physical copies. There's day one patches, things like that. There's a lot of work leading up to the last minute. So oftentimes there's more work than you can kind of complete in a 9 to 5. So people stay around and make sure to kind of complete those tasks. You can work overnight at times. Well, not overnight. You can work late into the night, and sometimes you may work a Saturday as well. So that's kind of the crunch time for in the gaming industry. There's often kind of deadlines, and it's tough. It's hard to imagine not having that time with maybe your loved one and stuff. But like I mentioned, there's a lot of love going into these games.
So like I know there's quite a bit of attention, especially I think the last couple of years about the crunch and the workplace specifically in gaming. Like what are your kind of thoughts on like should the crunch exist? Is it a necessary evil? Are there ways that I guess individuals working in gaming can take care of themselves, but also maybe corporately, like how does the structure need to change?
Yeah, that's
it's a loaded question. I know
it's a big topic. I think it's gonna take a lot of conversation for the industry to figure out what's the right balance. I think there are a lot of people who love and are really passionate about games and put in a lot of effort as well, and wanting to make sure. Yeah, and you guys know there's a lot of expectations in the gaming community, right? There's really high expectations, and when those expectations aren't met, people are frustrated, very vocal. So developers want to meet those expectations. So there is a balance I'm hoping that the industry can find, but it'll be from a lot of conversation and probably a lot from the players as well, right? If we really anticipate a game, we really love a game, we want it to be really, really good, we may have to accept that there will be delays.
Mm-hmm. And how does that tie into what you guys do at Battlefy? Obviously, I think you're more software than building a game, but I mean, it is the same industry and culture.
Yeah, I mean, we work with, the game developers, publishers, and brands, and they all have events, right? So these events have marketing behind them, and oftentimes, some of those dates might not be able to be pushed, right? So we really try to come in early in the process of working with our clients, and with our expertise from technology side or admin side, player operation side, really advise the client of like, here's the timeline you guys should expect to deliver a world-class esports event. So when we're able to come in and really show them the work that goes into what a great event is, oftentimes we can make sure we deliver on time and on quality, and really figure out what the work is that is actually involved.
Mm-hmm. And what about the culture within like your own company inside with you and your team members? Like, would you say it's more like gaming, more like startup, or like what did you guys kind of try and pay attention to as you were building out your team?
Well, I think to be a part of this growing market, this growing ecosystem, like we mentioned a little earlier, right? You're gonna have to have a lot of passion about this. There are times where things don't go your way, or you have to put a lot of effort in, and you're gonna kind of feel the stress here and there. And it really is a lot of passion for gaming and esports that's carried us kind of through to where we are today. Everyone's kind of passions really shows in the effort that everyone puts in. So I think like that is really one of the key things that we do kind of look for. Not necessarily you have to be fully like, hey, I'm a gamer, I understand everything, but looking at somebody's passion, if you can have passion for something outside of gaming even, we can see you apply yourself to our work. And we want to be people first. We want to let people know, hey, this is what it means to work in our industry. This is the kind of work involved, and we want to take care of the people as much as we can. We're going to do our best, make sure we scope out all our events, all the work, and we're going to communicate very openly, whether internal or kind of to our clients, and set the right expectations, and we will be successful in delivering quality tournaments to the players, which will then reflect really well to the brands and the game developers that we work with.
Back to one of the earlier points where you mentioned like it's very people focused, and I think we also touched upon the fact that this industry, it's very almost like very intertwined with the community as well. There's always this community pressure to always push out like a great product. Like, do you think that it's one of the reasons why the industry itself has been so fast paced, like at a rapid pace, has been able to grow at such a fast pace compared to maybe other industries that don't have that much of a community push? Like they don't have instant feedback, just like the gaming industry does, or esports. Because we have, speaking for example for our audience, a lot of gaming companies, when they push out a game, they have community forums where a lot of the companies would actually monitor threads such as like subreddit to see where the critiques are, what the gamers are unhappy about. There's a lot of feedback there that they use. Do you think that that's maybe one of the reasons why this industry has been growing so fast? Do you see it as like a negative thing or a positive thing or double-sided?
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things. I'm lucky to be a tech entrepreneur, and with the web, you can get a lot of feedback really quickly, and that is kind of the same or even more with gaming, right? Because gamers are so vocal. We are always on Twitter and stuff, and we can always see our users leaving feedback for us as a platform, for our community organizers. So there's a lot of conversation going on. If they're constructive conversations, that can definitely put stuff off forward, and there's definitely a lot of those. But because everyone's passionate, there are kind of a lot of trolls online as well. But it is kind of what it is, and I much prefer to get a lot of feedback and be able to talk to users, because that ultimately is how you're able to iterate and really try to hit something good with your audience.
And I guess this is maybe more for other entrepreneurs or founders themselves. Like, how do you handle such an influx of feedback and critique? I know some people might not be as comfortable receiving a huge influx of critique at one time when some product launches. Like, what are some ways that you kind of, what's the mentality that you have going in?
Well, I think all those critique is really to help you, right? I think you got to really think about it that way and consider that everything people say is just something that you can learn, and learning is a big part of being an entrepreneur and in our company culture is to just listen, distill the feedback, and understand like you're gonna fail many times before you kind of hit something where it seems like it's a success, right? So if you're not getting the feedback, you're not learning, you're not failing, and if you don't do that quick enough, you're not gonna kind of do it fast enough with the money and that you have.
Mm-hmm. So I'm firmly of the belief there's different types of like people who fail, right? Like there's people who are good at handling failure right off the bat, and they take it in stride, they take their learnings and they grow from that. And then there's people that don't like to fail, and I think a lot of people normally fall into this cap where, because failure doesn't feel good, right? Like you did not succeed. Like which one of those would you consider yourself to be in? And like either way, like how do you get better at failure?
Well, I think you can only get better at failure by failing a lot. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I handle failure really great. I am pretty competitive person, through gaming and stuff as well, and losing games can really get to me at times. But it's taking a step back. Even with games, right? I've been playing a lot of League of Legends, trying to hit gold tier and stuff like that. But you want to have a goal, but really analyze what you're not doing right. You can be like, there's this part of the game that you need to work on, or there's this part of the product that you need to work on, and set a kind of a mini goal for yourself there, and then find what the KPI is that you should be measuring and see where you land. And when you land there, you can now go talk to your users. Like, hey, these people aren't really receiving the feedback, the product that I have very well. And why is that? So you go talk to them and find out the why. I think if you do more of that, it becomes less of like, oh, this is really on me, more so like this is kind of a puzzle that you're trying to solve.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up with some questions that we always ask each of our guests. So, if you were able to create your dream team for your company, this can be composed of, celebrities, dead historians, professional gamers. Who would your 5 be? Or, it could be 3 or even just one partner that will help you drive up the success of Battlefy. And why would you choose them?
Oh, this is for the company?
Yeah, let's imagine it's for the company, or just even like
this could be any company. I don't think you need to be Battlefy specific. But if you're going to build a company, what's your dream team?
I don't know if there's like specific people that I necessarily like want, but there are types of people that I think are really crucial in in a startup, in companies that are trying to grow. I think those are people that we look for in our kind of core values. There are people who are, kind of have that grit, relentless, and there are people who, always want to be improving, right? The kind of the values that I talk about, it's very, very important. I guess in terms of like that drive and competition kind of tying into esports, the professional gamers actually kind of fit that mold well in certain ways, right? They have this drive to win, let's say worlds, right? And they want to keep improving, and they put dedication into it. Gamers that I kind of follow, like Reckless in the EULCS, the Team Liquid in North America, LCS and stuff like that. They all have that drive, and it's very inspiring to kind of follow these professional gamers who are just like the kind of the traditional sports athletes I kind of look up to, and how much drive they have to win, how much passion, dedication to continue to improve, and how much teamwork and making sure you're people first, and because a lot of these games are team sports too. So I would say the professional gamers kind of that I watch and follow, they have a lot of the values that I would look for in the team.
Hey, there's a future in professional gaming for all the future parents out there.
So yeah, you become a professional gamer, then you can work with Justin.
You get into the gaming industry.
Who is your favorite professional gamer? Just curious.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if I have one. I mean, Faker is definitely the most well-known League of Legends player. He's so dedicated. Won a bunch of world titles. Really cool to kind of look up to how much he wants to win. In North America, Wild Turtle is Canadian, and he's been a long time gamer. ADC, such a great personality. I've been following Team Liquid a lot recently, and so yeah, I mean it's I think people get attached to different personalities and different brands, and that's what's really kind of cool about esports. You can really like a lot of different people, and they're so accessible because they'll in their off time stream on Twitch, and you can really see who they are. Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, personally, like I love Piglet, or he used to be on Team Liquid, but he's definitely one of my favorite personalities.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a side story there that I don't understand.
Well, I actually got to meet him when I went down to LA a few times because he's close with one of my close friends at TL. So great guy. Like he's amazing singer at karaoke. Which is kind of fun.
Things I did not expect on this podcast.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a character. But yeah. Sam, did you have anything else you wanted to pop in before we wrap things up here?
Nope. I think last thing is I think there's going to be a couple of people that zone in on this podcast. I think some people want to aspire to build a company like Battlefy. Some people might want to work with Battlefy, right? So I guess just to give you the floor, like how can people connect with you and what's a way that they can get through? Connect with you, whether it's email or Twitter or they want to work for you or whatever.
Yeah, I think Twitter is good. That's always a great way to kind of connect with people. So my handle, I think, is Justin Z Wong. Actually, funny story. There's a Justin Wong who's the Street Fighter fighting games kind of like legend. And so a lot of people always get me confused with him. And I think there's also another Justin Wong who used to work at Twitch. And so,
all in the same industry.
Yeah, all in the same industry. So it gets a little confusing. Yeah.
All the Justin Wongs, yeah. And funny enough, I actually know which both Justin Wongs you're talking. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so if you guys want to connect with Justin, find him at his Twitter handle, Justin Z Wong. Not to
make sure it's the right Justin.
Yeah, make sure it's the right one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Justin, for joining us today on this episode. It was a really amazing talk. I always love talking about gaming, so it's nice to have, someone come in and talk about those things.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. Well, that's it for our episode. We'll hopefully see you guys at our next podcast.